Anybody crying this morning? Well, if you ain't crying, you ain't listening. So tell whoever didn't raise their hand, see if they've got a pulse. Can you believe this? Have you had a revelation? How are you going to live this revelation out? What are you going to do with it after this morning? How are you going to be a revelation? Are you going to be in the embodiment? I know God loves me, and that's why I'm alive. And I'm here to inspire a personal transformation within myself. And to be and express that in the world, not just theoretically as God's hands, as God's voice, as God's breath, as God's eyes, as God's ears, as God's feet, but literally, spiritually, the truth of it. So I had a revelation when I was a little kid, a little 3-year-old kid. And it was like God showed me there's 2 keys for this life. And as long as I use these keys, I'm going to have a tremendous life. These keys were tall, taller than Jack and the Beanstalk tall. Really tall. Taller than the tallest building the whole earth tall. Keys. These are the keys to the kingdom for this life. Guess what they were? Any guesses? Gratitude. Gratitude. So I have taken this to heart. Every single day, even if I'm in the face of a knucklehead, I practice gratitude. Gratitude, I didn't poke them in the head. Gratitude, I did not kick them. Gratitude, I held my impulse to tell them a thing or two. Gratitude. Grateful for the sun, the moon, the earth. The rains come and the rains go. Grateful to learn this week with these magnificent speakers. We just finished a powerful retreat and conference out at Unity Village, and he said, guess what the biggest lake on the entire planet was back in the day? Any guesses? Where would the biggest lake, the biggest body of water, the lake, was on the earth? Golden Reservoir. No. The Sahara Desert. And then we go with our little bitty peephole kind of view of the world. Speaking for myself, you might want to do that. It's quite fun. This is how we see most of the world, that the Sahara Desert is clearly dead. Without any awareness of that it's been both and. Alive and fluid and full of water, the largest place on the earth, and now dry and dusty. And the winds of the Sahara Desert that are known blow all of that fossil and sediment and microbes across the planet to do their job, to aliven the Amazon forest, to bring breath to these lungs. So, what if, even if we can't see, maybe there's something to be grateful for with a broader mystical perspective? We could. And when you came in, you may have got a little whisper of wisdom. These are photographs I've taken around the world with an iPhone, by the way. None of them are touched. None of them have been changed or anything. They're exactly as I saw it and shot it on a not so cool iPhone. My card says, "The rains will come." What about my hair? I'm wearing sandals. I didn't want it to rain. What does it rain on Sunday? What did it have to rain today? I had a party. We were going to barbecue. So let's just get some of this out of our system, could we? Just put your hand right on your forehead and just go, oh. So give it some life and then decide, how am I going to be with this? For there lies the whole power of the universe, not in getting it not to rain. And if you can, have your way. And when we can't control what we want to control, when we cannot change what cannot be changed, to say then, what can I change? An internal change is always possible. An internal control is sometimes possible, to say, then how can I be with this differently? How can I see this differently? How can I get a different framework around this? What if I step back out of this and understood that it's not one or the other, that it's both and, that rains will come, and that rains are doing their job way beyond what my little peephole vision of life can comprehend or see. So rains will come. I love that you're doing this book, and as God would have it, guess what chapter I got? Gratitude. Think there's coincidence about that? Have you read anything about this in the sciences? Like, it's proven scientifically, the more grateful you are, the more gratitude you have, the more gratitude you express, the more appreciation, the more you appreciate, the more you are appreciated, the more you offer gratitude is the way you feel gratitude. So that giving gratitude is also receiving gratitude. It is one transaction. And to find ways to do this, for then in the science says, you have more well-being. So it's medicine, an antidote, an uplift, a wind beneath your wings that says, whoa, I'm not having the best of days. What shall I do? It's like, let me just try a dose of gratitude. Let me see if that crazy Creek woman and the scientist had something going on there that day. Let me just find one little thing I could say a speck of gratitude about. And it can very small things. If you believe in quantum theory, if you believe in what New Thought Unity principles and teachings are, whatever I do here that uplifts this, I've just uplifted that. I've just uplifted that. So if I want I'm hearing the responsibility to some degree for the evolution of my own soul. So then as I evolve this soul, as I make choices for this soul, as I transform this old patterned way of being, that's just a hair above an animal, by the way, which is why we strike sometimes and crawl under rocks sometimes. So a choice then that says, when choice is possible, to have a choice that says, okay, I'm choosing here. I'm choosing even with the allure to tell them a thing or two, to know that my peace can't afford that. So call to mind somebody that really pretty regularly, routinely just annoys you. Like, you do not look forward to them. Oh, just call them to mind, give them a little of this. It's true. Oh, nobody knows the troubles I see. And then put your hand right on your heart. And now call them to mind. And they're not different. They're the same. Their attitude's the same. Their tone's the same. And you're different. See what that would be like. Like, even when I cannot be grateful for this, even when I cannot be grateful of how they're being and how they're doing and what they're saying and how they're carrying on, I don't have to go to war with it either. Herein lies the peace of God. Herein lies a personal transformation. So the essence of gratitude, so think about small and mighty ways you can and will do this. So it's not just theory, not just words on a page, but how am I going to embody this? To speak words of appreciation, to send little thank you notes. Do any of you still send thank you notes? Like, getting mail is a luxury. You know, we're the last generation that'll have any. So send some notes. Remember how good it feels just to write out a little note? To pick a pretty little stamp and put on there? And then I write stacks of them twice a month. And then my mail woman brings mail that won't fit in my box, stops that little old thing she drives, and gets out of it and brings it up there and puts it on my porch. She said, I don't know what's going on in those envelopes, but I like how it feels. I like whatever's going out in those envelopes. I like how it feels. So she's giving something back from that. And then I'd finished this big conference. We had such big days, like a week of it. I mean, cooking on all 6 burners, and then got on the plane to come out here to Denver because I was in Kansas City and I was already halfway, except when you have to go through Dallas. And the man by me, I got upgraded. The man by me in the seat, just not a word, but what I was believing was kindness. Not a word was exchanged. And just before I got off the plane, I said, I appreciate how kind you are. And he said, what? And I said, I appreciate your kindness. You seem to be kind to me, and I'm grateful for that. A little quiet, and then he said, thank you for saying that. That didn't cost a thing. And who knows what transformation in this soul transpired there, what transformation of that soul, and in that transformation, the soul of humanity was transformed. In that moment, if our theories, quantum theory is true, and quantum physics is true, and our teaching is true, then any transformation that occurred in that moment just changed the soul of humanity. So humanity evolved in that act of gratitude and kindness. So think about then how you can do this, what you might do, how you're going to live this out, because until it's embodied, until it's lived and put out, it's just blah, 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 blah. More of that. Versus, how am I actually going to do this? So it might be writing a few notes. It might be expressing some gratitude. It might be lifting it up. It might be looking in the mirror. One of my friends used to say, I can't start my day till I look in the mirror and go. So whatever it takes for that, to remember that you are the eyes of God, the hands of God, that you're alive because of God, and God had you right in mind exactly the way you are. You think God's got some answering to do? Exactly as we are. Exactly like the fossils, the sediment, the wind, what looks dead, what doesn't have as much life in it anymore, what can't move around as much. And Kevin was sharing with me this morning. He's been in a powerful time this past week too, and was sharing from it. And so they were having a little more fun with what we formerly call senior moments. Now, y'all likely won't be able to relate to this, but you know how you go into another room to get something, and then you don't know why you're in there? It's just a second ago you knew clearly why you went into that room, and now you don't know what you came into that room for. So Kevin offered the antidote for that. So all the way to that room, whatever you're going in there for, you use a mantra for it. So chapstick, 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 chapstick. Telephone, 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 telephone. See? So grateful for mantra. In any way that you can. Although I already had a Whispers of Wisdom card, you are such a generous bunch. Somebody ran up and said, I want to make sure you get a card. So I got 2. Guess what this one says? Good guess. So take this in if you hear this question, that it's not a rhetorical question. What if you didn't mind? Whatever comes, whatever attitude, whatever knucklehead, what would it be like? You don't have to love it. Ain't that good news? You don't have to like it. You don't have to understand it. You do not have to condone it. What simply would it be like if you didn't go to war with it? If you didn't mind, what would that be like? So take a big deep breath into that. And the potential that exists from that. And no more waiting. Gratitude brings us into the present moment. So just like you were able to experience this morning by simply putting your hand on your heart, to do that at a time where you could use a little atonement, a little alignment, an awakening, a little comfort, a little remembering. So a gesture to bring us into the present moment. And then to the degree that we practice this, to the degree that we live more often from this and willing to, a grace trail is our way of being, not a place, not a person, not a relationship, not a path here, which is very impressive, by the way. But there's no shortage of grace. There's no shortage of grace when gratitude is active, alive, and well. I also want to tell you how much I appreciate each and every one of you. And one of you, likely somebody intuitive, called out to guess what my 2 keys were that I started with. And my keys were actually gratitude and forgiveness. That were those keys. And I've taken it to heart. There's not a day before I lay down that I don't forgive myself again and forgive anybody that I put out of my heart today, that they've got to come back to this heart home before I rest. So it's 70 times 7 gratitude, 70 times 7 forgiveness. So think about then what your keys are. You may have different keys to mine. And my call to ministry, my call to serve this soul and the soul of humanity is a very clear one, which is to serve those who serve. So that's why I believe I'm here today, because that's what I believe you're here aware of. And these small committed groups of people have been making the difference since the beginning of time. And I believe it's us. And I believe it's now, and especially now. And I want to really thank you for your role here in this ministry. I've been in professionally consulting with ministries for 20-some years, and even before that, it was a profession. And throughout that time, the industry of ministry, church, has done this. 10,000 closing annually. And what is Columbine Unity doing? In the same time that is doing that, what's happening here? Emergence. Emerging ministry. Emerging ministry. Emergence in ministry. So I bow to you. I bow to you, and I thank you. And look at somebody by you and say, we're miracle makers. We are miracle makers. Tell them, you're a miracle maker, and I'm a miracle maker, and we're making miracles. And your board and your staff are miracles. Do you know that? Can you stand up, board and staff? Board and staff, can you stand up? Board and staff. Thank you. Tremendous, tremendous leadership here. And Reverend Sue, can you stay standing? Do you have a sense of what you've got here in this one? This leader here? That whatever she does, her heart is in front. That's a leader with a heart, and a leader that is aware of a heart and that leads with that heart. It's a fantastic, fantastic combination. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And Godspeed to keep dialing it up. How else? How else? Where else? Who else? When else? What more? So before you make your decisions, start here and remember that everything you have has been given to you. Everything. That everything you give is then from the fullness of that gratitude for what we have, what we've been able to have, what we've experienced, what we've enjoyed, and even what we've lost. That the depth of that loss is a measure of our love for them too. So, didn't like the grief, but like that I got to have them in my life. And that of all the ones I could have had, I've had some treasures. You've had some treasures. Some knuckleheads too. So just to keep us practicing. So after today, my prayer is that you see that as a call to sanctuary, a call to worship. Just when you get triggered a little. And one of you, I keep saying, just give a little of this, and give a little of this, and watch a transformation. And if you can, hang around, because I'm often introduced as Martha's my mentor and my tormentor. And it's true. So hang around this afternoon if you can, because we've got some very vital practices. And whatever you're doing, to look at those little gaps or those little places where you may have a little hook left in you, to say, how can I liberate from this? How can I be freer from this? And that's what we'll be doing this afternoon if you can stay. Yeah. All my love to you. And I bow to you. I thank you. Yeah. MarthaCreek.com if I can support you. Blessings.